And so it's like, for example, let's say, you put on your shirt, you put on your coat, and so your shirt and coat are moving, but it's really your body moving. It's really your body. So your eternal consciousness, which comes from you, the eternal soul, is sort of moving this apparatus, this material mind and intelligence. The problem is, and this is the whole point of the Yoga Sutras, actually. This is the whole point of how you get to samadhi. And it's related to the thing about the mind, is that there's a natural hierarchy that starts with you. You're on top of this system. You are an eternal soul. And then below you, you have your intelligence, your analytic, intellectual apparatus. And so for example, you can choose to decide, how can I help people? And then you think about it intelligently. Or one can think, how can I hurt people? And both require analysis. So ultimately, we, the soul, depending on our spiritual situation, we engage our intelligence for good or evil. And then the intelligence, beneath the intelligence, is the mind. Mind is a technical word in this philosophy. In the West, if you say mind, it can just mean consciousness or awareness. But in this yoga philosophy, mind is a technical word that means specifically that part of you, the emotional side, you could say, that I want to do this, I don't want to do that, I like this, I don't like that. It's the part of you that feels like it, doesn't feel like it, and sometimes irrationally. For example, I just saw an ad online. It was an Australian ad from the government of Queensland trying to get people not to drive too fast. And it was kind of like this tragic thing where these two guys, mates, are just kind of driving and talking and speeding, trying to beat a light, and then they crash into a car, and some young girl beautiful young girl they don't show all the stuff, but the idea is killed. And so you can feel like driving fast, but your intelligence will tell you, don't be stupid. There's a lot of things that we can feel like doing, and the better side of your intelligence will say, don't be stupid. And sometimes we don't listen. So and by the way, what I'm telling you now, which is the whole philosophy behind yoga, also is the philosophy in Plato's Republic. Anyway, there's this hierarchy of cognitive faculties. There's you, the soul, who are purely conscious in your original state. Then you have your intelligence. It's like your little built-in computer that analyzes and figures things out. Then you have the mind that's emotional. And then beneath that, you have the senses. Your actual senses, like, I want to eat that, or I don't want to taste that, or I want to touch something, or I want to hear something, in particular music, or I want to hear you say you love me, or something, whatever. It's like the senses, they want to hear different things. Now, what happens is, the whole problem that yoga is trying to rectify is that this natural hierarchy gets flipped upside down. So what happens is your senses, whatever you want to touch, this is how you get a rapist. Whatever someone is so out of control, the senses have taken over. I want to touch this, I want to taste that, so never mind that, I'm participating in the brutalizing of innocent, conscious creatures, but I want to taste that, or I want to touch this, or whatever. So the senses are ruling. And the senses are ruling, the mind is being dragged behind, and then the intelligence is kind of shut down. It's like, the intelligence, the mind is saying, shut up to the intelligence, don't bother me, don't put a guilt trip on me. If someone gives you rational advice, don't put a guilt trip on me, man. In America, we have people that speak in a very sophisticated way. You probably see it in the movies. So, and the soul is just lost. The soul is just lost. So the natural hierarchy is turned on its head. And that's the whole thing Patanjali is trying to get you to do, to put it right side up, so that you, the soul, are using pure intelligence, buddhi, to make decisions that are absolutely in your ultimate self-interest and are best for the world. And the mind is trained and learns how to take pleasure in virtue, how to take pleasure in that which is actually beneficial, and how to avoid that which is actually harmful and destructive and cruel and evil. And the senses learn to obey the mind and to engage, the senses engage. For example, let's say touching. A man learns to be a gentleman. You don't touch a woman without her permission. I mean, that's just an example where one becomes civilized. A person becomes civilized and the senses are under control. The classic example, which is given in the Vedas, this is like found in the oldest literature, and it's always been a metaphor in this culture, is that there's a chariot. You know, they didn't have motorized vehicles, so there's a chariot or carriage, and it's drawn by horses. The horses are like the senses. If you let the horses run, God knows where they'll take you, over a cliff. So the senses are the horses, the reins are the mind. The reins of the mind, because the mind is supposed to govern the senses. The chariot driver, the driver of the vehicle, is your intelligence. Your intelligence is supposed to hold the reins and guide the senses, and the passenger is the soul. And this is a very ancient analogy. And if the senses get out of control, it's like being in a horse-drawn vehicle. The horses are out of control, and you are history. It's over for you because you've lost control. So that's the whole, and so the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita, the whole thing is based on you understanding that. That's why you've decided to practice yoga. That's why you're going to all this trouble, because you understand all that. And Patanjali assumes that you know all that.